Welcome to the Kickstart Motorcycle Podcast with your hosts Colin and Simon.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right. Welcome to Kickstart Motorcycle Podcast. We're on episode 3, which is quite a landmark because we weren't sure if we'd get here. How you doing, Mozart?
I'm very well. Yourself, Colin?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, pretty good. It's late, everybody's sleeping, and it's just me and you, man.
Oh, I feel kind of special.
So episode 3, we left off on episode 2. We talked about what bike to get after you've done your CBT, and now we're talking about the gear. I'll let you carry on there, Mozart. Tell us what we're going to do.
So, I mean, the first thing I think that's important is the fact that obviously most of this gear is motorcycle gear. It's about protection. So things that are the things and legality side of things. So almost everything you buy, whether it be jackets, helmets, boots, well, less so boots, but not even boots for the specialist stuff, is going to have some sort of rating on it. Usually by the, I think it's EU, but I think as the UK, we have grandfathered in most of the old rules. So first up, I think, is helmets. Probably the most important piece of gear you're ever going to get. And they work. So currently, it's ECE 2205 is the current helmet standard for the UK. And that means that you're safe to ride on the roads. It's been tested to various. We could go into all the little details and ways it's been tested, but it's not really relevant as long as it hits the EC 2205. You're safe, and it's very, very unlikely that actually you'll be able to buy a helmet in the UK that doesn't hit that rating.
Yeah, the only time you'll find something that doesn't hit that rating is if it's a used helmet, which you shouldn't be using anyway. I guess a little side note that we didn't mention and we didn't even talk about is with helmets, that there was a thing back in the day that when you buy a helmet that it kind of has an expiry date, and this was mainly due to the construction methods where the inner compressed, is it foam? It's not compressed foam, is it? It's like
expanded, but polystyrene, isn't it?
Polystyrene, that's it. Yeah. So that breaks down over time. The glue breaks down. It means it's less resilient. So they used to say that there's basically expiry date, which there is, but I think some helmet companies these days say that their expiry date is after 10 years. It used to be like 3 to 5 years. But this is why you should never see a motorbike helmet being used that has a really old rating on it, because it would have expired. It's not as safe as it once was. And then, so you said that the ECE 2205 is the most recent one, but actually it gets updated quite regularly. And the next one's, I think you wrote Jan 24 is when it's updated next. Yeah, so we'll start seeing new numbers.
Year. Correct, yeah. It's going to go up to ECE 2206. So as of January next year, everything will have to be, they won't be able to sell the old ones. So if you're looking now, I imagine most of the ones that are being sold now will probably, might well have started selling under ECE 2206. It's now being tested to a higher standard. But as I say, especially as of next year, be careful. You want to buy don't be getting knocked off with an old quality helmet when you can get the newer ones. There's nothing wrong with the old one. If you've got the newer ones available, buy the new ones.
Yeah. And I guess we won't go into it too deep because I think we'll probably save it for another episode and really diving into what the EU testing does and everything. But just be aware that, they do test it. If it's tested, it's as safe as, it's going to get. Some levels are different from others, but the basic standards are met. And then you'll sometimes see an orange gold sticker that says British Motorcycle Sport sticker. That means it's accepted for track use, and not all helmets have that. But if you want to ride on track, look for a helmet that has that sticker also. And then when we move on from helmets, well, While we're talking about no, we'll go on to helmets later, shall we? So what's the next ratings? We're looking at for clothing, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah. So then you get your different. These ones are rated alphabetically, and it's between C up to AAA. So AAA is the highest quality. C is the lowest. To be honest, I think you struggle to find. I've never seen anything that's C. I've never seen anything that's B. I've never seen anything in the UK that wasn't A. If it's got a label, I guess this is where you've got to be careful, because if it's sold as motorcycle gear and they've started cracking down on this, it has to be labelled if it's sold as motorcycle gear. If it doesn't have a label, don't bother. Walk away.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you don't really want to get anything like below A anyway. You want to be looking for AAA really, but
yeah, totally.
Understand the situations vary.
So the cheaper items you'll find will probably be A, and that's when you're buying the cheaper textile like jean type trousers. A lot of the cheaper ones will be A rated. And then A is like we've got this graphic up, but we've taken from the Ride 2 website, and that's basically saying that A is suitable for like urban riding and short commutes. AA is suitable for touring and commuting, which basically in my head, and this is the way I remember it, is AA is good for being on motorways. All right. So if you're traveling a lot on motorways, look for AA. If you're not, you're just riding around town, A is totally fine. It's all about the abrasion resistance, meaning once you come off, when you're sliding, how long it takes for that textile or leather to tear up. And then the AAA rating is good for track use. And that's when you're going to be, going as fast as you possibly can, and that's when your abrasion levels needs to be as high as possible. Because technically you're not supposed
highest speed.
Yeah,
exactly. High speed, so longest sides.
So look for A or AA when you're looking at your jackets or trousers, whatever. And then inside the jackets and trousers, well, actually, no, we'll pass on that. We're going to talk about safety, but we'll do that another day, I guess, because it will get too much when it. All we need to know is they are tested.
Yeah.
And then you have different armor levels, right?
Correct. So armor levels, again, these are again levels 1 and 2. 2 is better than 1, and this is for armor inserts. So things like your elbows, your knees, your back pads, all of these. So armor level 1 is the minimum. Armor level 2 is the best. Often you will find that jackets, in order to save money, they might have a really good jacket, but with the cheaper inserts. Usually it's not very hard to buy the better inserts. Obviously it's something to budget for, but it does mean you can spread the cost a little bit and buy those extra bits at a later date.
Yeah, so you're probably spending like an extra £15 to £30 on some of these inserts, and then back protectors can be more. Often they cheap out on the back protectors, so get a good back protector. I mean, I think just getting level 2 is worth it.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, I mean there are safety ratings. They're there and tested to benefit us. It's not like this in every country. I know in America it's slightly different. They have what's called the DOT rating for helmets, which is the Department of Transportation. That's what it stands for. So you may find in America that you don't always have the ECE numbers on there. They also use Snell, but if it's being sold in the EU and it's being sold in America, it will often have the testings for the EU standards as well. So America is almost taking on the EU standards now, just because it makes sense for the manufacturers and the distributors to be selling the same thing at the same ratings. So it's useful to know this wherever you live, I guess.
Yeah.
Features, I guess.
The ECE, sorry, just one more. The ECE ratings, those are the legal requirements. So DOT is the American one, but then the UK has their own. Our Department of Transport equivalent have set up a unit called Sharp, and they have a 1 to 5 rating, 5 being the best. So any of these ratings, obviously, you definitely have to have the ECE, but if you can get one that's a Sharp 5 as well worth it. Do that.
Nice one. Right, so then when we're buying gear, or when you're looking at your first piece of gear, so this is basically why we're talking about this. We want you as a new rider to understand what is important, what you're looking for, and what fits in your budget. So, I mean, that's why we started off with the safety. that should be knowledge that you can just retain at all times and be aware of. And now all the other bit comes into play. So like, it depends on what features you want. Now each jacket, each pair of trousers, each pair of boots, they all have different features, whether it's protection from slides and impacts or whatever. You got anything else to say there, Mozart?
Well, let's say you look for protection wise when when you're looking at features. There's different things you're looking at. Obviously, so protection is only one element, but there are two elements to protection. And one is impact and one is slide. So you might have something that's great for sliding, but not take very good impact, or vice versa. Obviously, that's not the only thing that you're looking for in your gear. You're also looking for, it depends what you're doing. That weather protection might come into play. Well, it will. We live in the UK. If you're going to be riding, you want something that's going to keep you warm and dry. So again, that's something else to account for when you're buying your gear. You've got to take into consideration that we don't live in Southern California, where it's going to be long, balmy days. So weather protection is important. But also it depends, what you're doing with your motorcycle. If you're riding a fully fed sports bike, you're not going to be looking at the same sort of gear as someone who's riding an adventure bike, for example, or an off-road motorcycle. So again, what your style or the function of your bike plays, or what bike you have, is also going to be quite a deciding factor in the gear that you're looking at what you're buying.
Yeah, strangely it does. It doesn't always make sense from an outsider's point of view that it should matter what you're wearing sat on a Harley, but it does feel different. You're not going to be sat on a Harley wearing your full-on adventure textile gear that's all colourful and bright with block colours and primary accents. You're just not going to do that. So that is going to be a consideration for anybody buying their first gear. It depends, style. Talking about weather and climate, most jackets these days and most manufacturers cater for this, where you have removable liners, so they can make it like a 3 or 4 season jacket, so you can just take off some liners on the inside. They just come off on zips. So when you're looking at a jacket, you can buy a jacket will do you for all 4 seasons, and you don't always necessarily have to spend that much more money because everybody's competing in the same market now. So you'll find jackets that have 3 or 4 layers, usually 3 layers. You've got a jacket, haven't you, that actually the inner jacket you can wear as a jacket that you can go out in. It's not like, because sometimes they're obviously inner jackets where you've got all the sewing strips and all the I don't know, the buttons and the zips, but yours just looks like a normal jacket inside a jacket.
With weather protection jackets, you get 2 styles. So you get the ones that have a properly waterproof liner, okay, and that's going to keep you inside dry. You are going to stay dry, but you are going to sweat because it's not breathable, and your outer jacket is going to get really, really, really heavy. Or you get the ones that are they have a waterproof protection on the top, so water slides off more. It doesn't get into to begin with, but they cost more and they need maintenance. So you need to every year need to respray them or whatever it is. But yeah, the benefit of having a removable liner that doesn't make you look like a dork is quite beneficial, especially if you're touring when you can only carry so much. Something you can take off and not have to wear around as a motorcycle jacket. It's quite useful.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, you can buy just one good jacket and it'll do everything you need it to do. So that's something to consider. They've got the features, but why do we need these?
As I say, there is a slight caveat because I don't believe 100% that you can, in motorcycling, you can get things that'll do everything. Because
God, no.
You can buy a nice jacket, but you can't take it to a race. You can't go to a track day with that jacket.
Exactly, 100%. But I guess the reason I'm saying is to put some people at ease, where you don't have to be going and buying 2-3 jackets for different seasons. You can do one jacket that can last you most of the time. And as we were talking about this, in my head, I was counting, and I realized I have 6 motorcycle jackets, right? I don't need 6 motorcycle jackets, but the one I wore today is a summer one. It's just a mesh jacket with armor, but it's mesh, which I don't get to use very often, but it is actually quite useful on a nice hot day when I'm just going to go up to the shop real quick. But it's not suitable for every day of the week. No way. I guess when we're buying safety gear and when you're starting motorcycling, everybody tells you it's dangerous and you know it's dangerous. So that's why, the law stipulates that you have to be wearing a helmet because, it's there's a risk involved.
And
The
suitable
gear that you
footwear, I
wear,
think.
is it suitable footwear? Is that what they say?
I think they say suitable footwear, so they don't say what that is, but they will do you
Yeah.
if you're wearing
I mean,
flip-flops.
that's pretty vague. And it's also, you're not supposed to be
Yeah,
driving a car with flip flops. You're not even supposed to be driving a car with wellies.
yeah.
And that's not suitable footwear. So I guess it's similar on motorbikes. It's a bit subjective to whoever looks at your feet when you're riding, I guess. But okay, so there's two reasons you're going to wear safety gear, right? One of them is for a big crash where it's going to help you with impact, like your shoulder protection, your back protection. That's going to help with impact. But the material itself, whether it's a textile or whether it's a leather, is there for its abrasive quality. So that's when you slide off your motorbike, whether it's a crash or you just slid off and you're sliding across the road, and you may get the dreaded road rash, which is way worse than it sounds. And it's the one thing that you really want to be in mind of when you're buying gear and you're thinking whether you should wear gear or not, because it's the ratings on the A and the AA is all about abrasiveness, and that's to help you reduce the risk of road rash. And road rash is basically you'll come off your bike, you're sliding along, and it's just going to tear your skin off, whether it's the heat where your clothes are dragging along and then the heat transfers from the road through the jacket to your skin, or whether it just goes through the jacket itself or the trousers and your skin starts dragging across, and both are dangerous. Yeah, and don't mess around. Like road rash, you'll make you bedridden
Honestly, it
for months.
terrifies me.
Yeah.
I mean, but I mean, you say that it won't because you won't be able to lie down.
No.
It literally.
No.
I mean, it will tear your skin off down to the bones in seconds. So if you're doing 30 miles an hour and you put your hands down without gloves on, this fat bit here turns over. Okay, on your thumb, that turns over and just goes. And
So the pad of your
everyone's
hands.
got horror
Yeah.
stories. Yeah,
Ugh.
it's like, and you remember when you fell off your bike and you scuffed your knee? Right, well, now imagine scuffing your knee from 30 miles an hour down to 0 for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Like this,
Yeah.
it will absolutely ruin you. And I really don't want to downplay the fact that, impacts as well. Broken bones are no fun. That's also really, really, really serious. But the idea of, if you go into the hospital having had a crash, the doctor's going to be there with, a wire brush to clean bits of the road out of your body. They're literally going to brush bits of road out of your mashed up skin. So
the idea of that wire brush in the cut, just pulling out the stones, was horrible.
Yeah, so don't mess around. Honestly, wear appropriate gear for what you're doing. I mean, honestly, even if you're just going down the shops, like get some proper trousers, a jacket, helmet, gloves, minimum, boots.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to do it without.
And it's not just about your bare skin scraping on the road. It is down to how long your body is being, I don't know, sliding down the road. So those ratings, if you're wearing an A rating jacket, but you're going motorway speeds, that means you're going to be sliding on the ground for longer. Now that jacket either will wear through, or like I said earlier, the heat will transfer so much that your skin will start burning inside because of the heat transfer. So if you are going to be buying an A-rated jacket, be considerate that it's going to do some help, but it's also going to cause other problems if you do slide out. And it's not just about it wearing through, it's about that heat transfer. That's why leather's still a popular choice, because the leather doesn't transfer heat as badly as textiles. Textiles still wins hands down for me. I pretty much always buy textiles, but there is that benefit of leather.
We'll come to it in a bit, but there's that leather and there's some different qualities to leather and textile that make them good for different things. We'll come to that in a bit.
So, I mean, it always also comes down to budget, right? I mean, if we're starting motorcycling for the first time.
For me, this is a huge factor in motorcycling, but particularly in motorcycling gear, and particularly at the beginning, right? Budget is going to play a massive role, and it's going to be a lot of prioritise and compromise, because let's face it, you just spent many hundreds up to thousands of pounds to get your license. You've then spent thousands of pounds to buy a motorcycle. You now have to spend some more money to buy some gear, and inevitably this is where you're not going to have as much money as you want to get what you want. So you compromise between the different aspects of what you're doing. What bike are you getting? What are you going to use it for at most? How much can you afford? Because it's only celebrities and YouTube people and motorcycle journalists who've got a helmet for every occasion, for every different style of bike they're riding, who've got different jackets and multiple race suits. For most of us, that's just not a thing. So you're going to end up, you've got to prioritise, and to compromise within your budget, and that's going to be personal down to you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in like anything in life, for most of us, budget really leads us in what we're looking at. It kind of directs us to what brands we're looking at, what we, like you said, prioritize. So in talking about prioritization, I'll probably jump ahead a little bit here, but just for an example, I wrote this earlier about, say, for example, someone's riding a 50cc scooter, right? And it's mainly urban riding, they're commuting. Now, their budget is going to be led by what they prioritize as the most important purchase, which would be, first of all, the helmet. Any type of riding, it's going to be the helmet. But from then on downwards, it's like, it's what do you prioritize? Now, I think me and you don't necessarily differ, but it's like head to toe usually, isn't it? You start with your head, always going to get a helmet, and then your budget then can be kind of configured to what you think is priority. Like hands are really important. If you're going 30 miles an hour, are hands still as important? I don't know, but that's where you can start prioritizing whether your hands are as important as a jacket, or your jacket's more important than your shoes and stuff.
God, this sounds horrendous. You might, let me. Do I like my hands more than I like my knees? That sounds horrendous. And
but if I'm going 30 miles an hour, say on your 50cc, for me it's helmet, jacket, gloves. I'm not too worried about my shoes, and I'm not too worried about my jeans at that point, because I'll probably have a pair of DMs or something, and I'll have a pair of jeans that I can put on.
Helmet, gloves, footwear.
Really? Footwear's that close for you?
But at 30 miles an hour, I'll take that bit of road burn over a broken ankle.
Yeah.
And I've just said road burn's horrible. Road burn's horrible, but you could probably still go down the pub with road burn.
Okay. But this is coming from the man who rides in this is coming from the man who rides in work boots.
Yeah. But I mean, my work boots are not insignificant. But what I'm saying is, it's better than a pair of trainers. There is some
totally better than a pair of trainers. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not advising wearing a pair of trainers.
I think that is more important than a jacket. I'm not saying you have to go and spend 150 quid on a pair of motorcycle boots, but I would spend 40, 50 quid on a decent pair of boots before.
Okay, agreed there. I guess in my head, a lot of the time I'm assuming that people have got a pair of work boots or a pair of DMs or something like that. People got rugged boots these days, even if you've got some walking shoes.
DMs are doing nothing. They've got they're about 8.8 of a mil thick. Your ankle's going to go crack. Right.
True. I mean, ankle wise, they haven't got much protection, but sole is better than a pair of trainers.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to prioritize down to budget. I guess when we're talking about budget as well, it is sometimes cheaper to buy like non-bike specific stuff. But this is only important. This is only really possible when you're talking about a few things, like whether you're talking about thermals underneath, or whether you're talking about waterproofs, because you can just put a pair of waterproof layers over whatever you've got. It doesn't have to be motorbike specific, and that's where you can save a bit of money if you want to.
Screw fixes your friend, thermals and waterproofs. You can get because absolutely, you start buying the budgets, the branded stuff. You're paying loads and loads and loads of money for something that's probably coming out of the same factory and is doing very, very, very similar job.
So, I mean, some of them do have features that are quite specific to motorcycles, which are quite useful. I've got a pair of Spada thermals that have got like a plastic coating on the front, so they're a bit more windproof. But before I had them, just an old pair of thermals. I guess we keep saying thermals, but you will need thermals.
You live in the
Because
UK.
you live in the UK and it does get fucking cold. It might even look like it's 15 degrees out there and it's lovely and it's warm and you're walking around, but as soon as you're on that motorbike, the wind chill is going to make you cold. You're going
Yeah,
to want thermals
absolutely.
regardless. I mean, it's only on the hottest days of 25 to 30 degrees where you even consider, on a long ride especially, that I'm not going to wear
Yeah.
thermals. Most of the time, even if it's hot, you're going to wear thermals, even if that's your only other layer. Maybe not in your trousers, but definitely your
No, I
top.
think it depends what you ride as well. If if your legs
Mm,
forward, then you definitely want trousers that just go straight up your legs. But I think
true,
the other thing
true.
to remember is glove liners as well. Same, you get
Yeah.
little silken glove liners that go inside your main gloves. And again, you can buy them on Amazon for a tenner, or you can go to a motorcycle store and spend lots more.
Agreed. Yeah, so they can be cheap. They don't have to be bike specific.
Mm.
You know what I haven't said here that I don't know why, because it's something I feel quite strongly about that people ignore. When you're buying gear, make sure you buy some ear protection as well. When you're out there buying
Oh
your
yeah,
when you're buying your jacket and you're buying all that stuff, just get, even if you get the cheap yellow fucking foam ones, have something to put in your ears because it's going to make your riding more pleasurable and it's going to be better for your ears and for your future riding because the turbulence noise inside a helmet doesn't matter what screen you've got, what wind protection's there, you're going to have a quite deafening rumble in your ears when you go above, say,
mm.
50, 60 miles an hour. And it's dangerous. And some people might already have bad hearing or hearing that's deteriorating. But if you don't, and if you ride for a long time without ear protection, you're gonna have problems with your hearing. So, yeah,
Um,
I would add that to the list
I
of things you should pick up.
absolutely agree, and this brings us into sort of helmets generally quite nicely. But yeah, it's really important. You will lose your hearing, and you don't realise it. It's just this rumbling sound. No, it's really really loud. Putting your headphones in and turning the volume up so you can hear it. That's not helping. That's not saving your ears. You're just hiding the symptoms.
Yeah.
Yeah, wind noise in a helmet is really important. Get some cheap and cheerful earplugs. Anything that's just going to take that edge off. And also, even if your bike ain't that loud, I've been out with people. There's plenty of people who have got no baffle in their exhaust. Right, you can have someone riding in front of you, and there's not a chance you could hear your own bike over theirs. When they go with no baffles in, they are seriously, seriously loud. So it doesn't really matter what you're doing. These people will damage your ears with their bikes. So yeah, 100% cheap. Again, Amazon, you get a pack of like five five sets of earplugs for a tenner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's nothing. Buy them.
Yeah, start off
Prioritize
with
it.
things like
Really, really
that. I
important.
mean, and I these days I now have motorbike specific ones, mainly because I like spending money. I'm shit at not spending money. I always find an excuse to buy something. But they are more comfortable in my ear. They come in a little pouch that I have on my key ring for my motorbike. So there's like I always remember them because they're there right in front of me. When I put my key in my motorbike, I see the fact that my ear protection's right there, and it reminds me that I have put them in or I haven't put them in. So I think that's a good visual cue because it's the one thing I do worry about is going deaf on a motorbike, and it's not fun. It can ruin a ride if I don't have ear protection.
I find that
But
quite amusing that of all the mums out there who are worried about their children on motorcycles, and the one thing that you worry about, it's not the road rash, it's not the brake, not the broken bones.
my ears.
Might go deaf. Might go deaf.
I'd hate to go deaf, man. Right. But yeah, you're right. It led us into helmets. And helmets is the only legal requirement, and they then, like you said, they advise of appropriate footwear. But the helmet is technically the only legal requirement as such,
Yeah.
and it can be quite tricky to understand how to buy a helmet and what to look for and some of the features. So helmets come in all different shapes and sizes to suit all our heads, whether it's from a small pea head like mine to a massive head like yours. And then each manufacturer has different kind of shapes as well. Some suit more people with round heads. Some suit people more with oval faces. I don't know which manufacturers do what, but I know a manufacturer that suits me, and HJC suits my head for some reason.
If
I
you,
don't know.
it's quite common. If you Google it, it's quite common on the internet that people know. It's like they say JVC might make them better for oval heads and stuff. It's all, it's quite commonly known within the motorcycle community.
Yeah, so you find out what type of head you've got, and you'll find out which helmets would suit you, and then it comes down to size, and you size it like you would size a hat, where you measure your circumference of your head around your forehead to the back of your head. Mine's around 56, which is usually a small. What's yours?
So I think I'm about 57 and a half because I've got a massive brain going on. But
that puts you in like a medium, I guess, doesn't it?
Well, it's the funny thing, right? So different manufacturers have. So although the size, they've all got their own sizes. So some will do, extra small, medium, large, extra large. Some, but also not only is it the size of your head that you get, it's the size of the shell. So in some manufacturers, they will do 4 shell sizes, right? And some will do 3. So although you say you've got a pea head, it's quite good because your little pea head means you always get a small shell. So you don't look like you've got a massive dome on your head when you're cycling around like this. Whereas, so again, different manufacturers. So some of them only do 3, which can be really annoying if you're just into the large. So you've now got the same shell as the extra large, or you're just into the medium from a small. Whereas in a different manufacturer. So again, it's something to bear in mind that go to a shop and try a load of different helmets on. Try because they're different.
Hands
sizes,
down, that's what you need to do. Yeah, don't buy one online for your first helmet. Well, actually, no, you can buy it online, but go to a fucking shop and then try some on because you're going to need to understand what your sizing's like. I mean, you may have funny ears that stick out and bend in weird angles. Like you may have this, I don't know, Neanderthal brow that pushes into certain helmet styles and stuff. So
Cro-Magnon jaw.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to try on a few helmets. Sizing is really important. So I guess we'll go into this deeper on another podcast, maybe when we talk about safety. But briefly, when you put on a helmet, you don't want to be able to turn it around your head. You want, when you're holding the helmet and pushing against the side of the helmet, when you try to turn it, it needs to be slightly moving your head at the same time. So like your head ends up turning with it slightly.
Push your cheeks up, push your cheeks up.
Yeah, it should push your cheeks up.
To be honest, a new helmet should feel a bit uncomfortable. It should feel a bit tight.
It will do.
You're going to loosen it up a bit as you wear it. So but yeah,
my helmets, I always have
try on a load.
Yeah, totally. Try on a load, get the right size. Over the years, I found, like I said earlier, that HGC, they fit my head, and I just keep on buying them now. I know the small fits me. Sometimes I have to alter them slightly just by pushing in on the padding, and I just keep pushing in over a couple of days, and then it gets perfect. These days, most helmets come with visors, don't they? These flip down visors that can be on the side or whatever.
Yeah. So this is something to be. You got. So we're in the UK. It's not sunny all the time. You can get the changeable. So I think you had one of these, and you had a dark visor. So you can put a permanent tinted visor on your helmet.
Technically illegal.
I'm not sure. Yeah, you've got to be a bit careful on the legality of this. But more importantly, you've got to be careful that sometimes you're caught out late at night, you can't change that.
Well, it's happened many times. It's not on my helmet anymore because of that reason. I got caught too many times.
You can't. It's dark, and now you're looking through tinted. It's really dark. So personally, I don't advise them, especially when almost all the helmets now, they come down with a little flick down sunglasses within the helmet. So it's almost pointless to put the visor on. But if you are going to have a tinted visor, which is inevitably be aftermarket, you have to pay more for one.
I've normally had to pay about £30 or £40 more to get this tinted visor, which I think looks fucking amazing. You look like a badass, in my opinion. Maybe not your opinion, but my opinion, and that's what matters. But yeah, I've been on a ride with you in the last month, and then we'll be coming home, and it's coming 7 or 8 o'clock, and I'm starting to struggle to see. So then I have to open my visor to be able to see, and then suddenly we're going down a 50-60 mile stretch of road, and I'm trying to ride with my visor open with no safety glasses on underneath, and it's like, well, that's not safe. So yeah, tinted visors, you have to be aware of when you're riding, and you have to know that you're only going to be out in the morning or something like that.
Yeah, just a little bit limiting.
Yeah.
On the subject of visors, what's the demisting thing called?
Pin lock.
Being a layer. Pin lock.
pin lock,
We
which is
advise
also
look for a pin lock.
technically illegal. But it comes with every helmet these days, and my god, it's good. For a while, I had a pin lock capable helmet, and I didn't use it because I was like, "What's this madness? This wizardry didn't make sense to me." I guess we should step back a little bit. It's to stop fogging.
What is pin lock?
That's what it's for. Yeah. So a pin lock stops the fogging up of your inner lens. So when you're breathing, so the difference between like the warm and the cold air, just like in your car or wearing anything else like safety goggles, it'll mist up. It'll fog. And the pin lock has it's like a layer. It creates,
which makes it's another layer. So
it creates like a gap in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An air gap.
And that air in there always stays a bit warmer because it's inside the two panels, like double glazing works. If you think about your double glazing windows, insulates exactly, and it stops the fog. And my god, it works. So I was shopping for a new helmet recently.
Game changer.
It was. I was shopping for a new helmet recently because for more off-road use, and there was a few I was looking at that didn't have pin lock, and I was like, "There's no point. There's no point. I'm not going to buy it if it hasn't got pin lock ready visors." Like, no. So I made sure I got one pin lock ready.
It was revolutionary when it came along, and it's a deal breaker for me if you can't get a pin lock. And for some of them don't actually come with it, but you always, most helmets you will be able to get one for. So if it doesn't say on the one you're buying, look at the pin lock website because undoubtedly they will do one. But honestly, if it doesn't have, if you can't get a pin lock, look at another helmet because it is game changing. It really does make a difference.
Totally agree. Other things to look at on helmets, I haven't written this down, but just thinking, is the fastening mechanism. Some have got a D fastener, which is fiddly but very safe, and it's this old ancient. The fabric goes through two metal rings, and then you fold them around a certain way, and it makes it tight. The other way is just like a clasp, like a click system, which is generally what I prefer these days. I have that on all my helmets now. It's not as safe if you test it with dramatic pulling action and stuff, but if my head's being yanked that far from my neck, then I'm in serious trouble anyway, so I'm not too worried about that.
I generally go with the double D. I think the main advantage of double D, yes, it is safer, it is stronger, but it does mean that you have to tighten it up to the appropriate level every time. You can't just click it in and it's loose and baggy, which makes your helmet useless. With the double D, you have to put the correct tension on it every single time. So that's what I like about it.
Yeah, I prefer the other one. You prefer that one?
On helmets is sun visors at the top.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So again, but it comes down to what you're riding.
What style? Yeah.
If you're on a fully fared sports motorcycle, you don't want one of them because it catches the wind, right? And try to lift your head back, really, you will notice it.
And it can be really fucking annoying. Sorry, carry on. Yeah, I'll tell you in a minute.
No, tell me what annoys you.
Well, I bought one recently. I never had one before, and I bought what brand did I buy? Anyway, I can't remember. But it's got the visor because I'm doing more off road. Well, when my bike works, I'll be doing more off road. But at 50 miles an hour, there's a zzz, it just fucking vibrates. Does yours vibrate at 50 miles an hour plus?
Not
Can you feel a vibration through the helmet?
No.
I got a piece of shit, haven't I?
It's something you've got to look for. It's again to be aware of. Now, most of them, if they're quite well vented, then you won't notice it on up to motorway speeds. After motorway speeds, whatever one you've got, you're going to notice it. I personally really like them because it means when you're in the UK and at the end of the day and there's low sun, it doesn't matter that you've got tinted visor or whatever. When that low sun comes, you can't see anything. You can if you tip your head down and you put that visor in the way. So personally, I really like a visor. But again, it comes down to what you're doing. But
what bike you're riding.
Really important. Helmet's the biggest decision.
I mean, what a takeaway! I mean, did they really have to listen to this podcast to know that helmets are really important? I'm guessing we're really providing the deep knowledge here.
The deep scoop, yeah. But it's I mean, the thing is, it's after your bike, it's your biggest expense you're going to make probably in your gear. It's quite an artistic decision. It's a bit stylistic. This is getting to show off. You've seen how many motorcycles come in really, really lurid, graphic colours, and that's, it's quite, it's, I think it's probably after the bike, it's the biggest decision is your helmet.
Yeah,
It is very
yeah. Right. So helmets. We talked a bit about jackets. We talked about that with the ratings and stuff. Should we move on a bit further? Like, say we just got a CBT and we're riding a 125. What should we be buying? What should we be looking at now? Like, what kind of what would you prioritize? And what kind of products would you be buying?
I mean, for CBT, I mean, for almost priority, obviously helmet, then, I mean, like I said, my head, then my hands, then my feet. So I can.
And it goes for pretty much whatever bike you're riding. Yeah.
Yeah, I can still think, I can still write, and wipe my own bum, and I can still walk to the toilet. If I lose skin or I break bones, and it's it's not as important. So for me, it's always going to be in that order. Then jacket and trousers. And I don't really think it makes a difference what size it is. Honestly, I think it's always going to be the same. I'm much more scared of the road rash of being on a bigger bike, but I'd still want my feet, my hands, and my head first.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm just going to pull these numbers out of thin air, but I am considering what I've spent money on. But now when I'm spending money on gear, so if I'm going budget, I'll probably spend anywhere from about £150 on a helmet. I can get a helmet that passes all requirements. That's fairly good for 150 quid. You're talking, the bottom of the range, but from a big brand like HJC or Araya, but it's going to be the bottom of their range. And then you're talking jacket, you can go anywhere from 100 to 200. Same with the textile trousers. So we're already at about £300 to £500. Gloves, £50 probably. And then boots, again, maybe between 50 and 100. So you're talking anywhere from like 400 to £600, and you can fully kit yourself out. That's going to last you a long time, and get you started. So you can spend as much money as you want, but you could probably get away with spending as little as £400, if not less, if you're shopping smartly and in, for sales and stuff.
I think you can. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I got my big license, I spent 40 quid on a helmet, because it's the same thing everyone does. It's the last thing. It's all you've got, So at the time, I've just spent a load of money getting my license. I've just spent a load of money buying a motorcycle. I want to ride the damn motorcycle. I'm not waiting till next month for another payday. I'm buying what I can afford right now. And for me, that was a 40 quid helmet at the time.
And as long as it's passed the EC tests, then it's fine.
Yeah. Now, but this is a bit like the Chinese motorcycle thing. I think you would be better spending the 150 quid on an entry level Arai or HJC or a known recognized brand. Get their entry level one is better than this. Don't get me wrong, it's a helmet and it has passed what it needed to pass. But
yeah, I wouldn't wear that. I wouldn't have bought that.
No.
But like you said, it got you riding. It got you on the road.
You can wear it, but it's not a good helmet, And so, like I say, there are ways you can get on really, really cheap. Again, you can probably get, if you go into the shops at the right times, or not even the right times. A lot of the time they've got a lot of last year's gear on sale. So if you can be a bit flexible on what you want, you can probably get a pair of gloves for 30 quid. You can get a pair of, again, boots. If you care where you go, you're willing to travel a little bit, you can probably get a pair for 50 quid. They're pretty good, and probably last year might cost you 120 quid. So again, it's being a bit flexible in what you've got. But it's almost always dictated by budget. And realistically, I think 500 quid is a good starting place to budget for motorcycle gear to get you on the road.
Yeah. So if we thought about our previous podcast when we talked about motorcycles, and we were realizing for getting a 125, you need to be spending minimum 2.5 grand, but around 2.5, 3 grand, you're getting a fairly decent bike. So if you're adding a £500 budget to that, you're talking anywhere between 3 and 3.5 grand, and you'll have everything you need. So 3 grand, if you're thinking minimum number, 3 grand will do everything.
Yeah.
That'll get you a bike. That'll get you your insurance, maybe. Well, at least monthly payment first monthly payment done.
Yeah.
And you'll get your gear. Other useful items that are often forgotten. Well, we talked about thermals. The second one is like the snood or the headscarf.
Oh, vital.
Yeah.
Vital.
When you where's the headscarf? Yeah, there's a lady with a headscarf. Yeah.
Oh, gorgeous. You know. But yeah, as soon as again, we don't live in Southern California. It's probably okay at 30 mile an hour, but as soon as you get out of town, like that's just the wind just starts going straight down your neck, and there's no point in anything else you're wearing because you're just inhaling the cold into your chest cavity around this massive gap around here. So yeah, snood, vitally important, costs nothing. Often, if you're in a motorcycle shop buying a load of gear anyway, they might throw one in, ask about it.
Like most things, well, as you've spent many years as a biker, you'll end up collecting things like these. And I know I've probably got 10 or 12 of these things just laying around because, like you said, you get given them, you get sent in the mail when you're buying parts or whatever, because they are so useful. You can put them over your head like a balaclava, you can put them just around your mouth, you can just have your neck covered, you can even just wear them like a bandana. Like, you can do so many things with them. So useful. Totally recommended. And you can get summer ones which are really light, and you can also get heavier ones for the winter, and I've got a few different ones for different seasons. Pick one of them up. And waterproof over trousers. You don't have to, when we're talking earlier about features, now if you found a pair of trousers that suit your budget but they aren't waterproof, then don't worry about it too much at the beginning. Just get some over trousers, and they can be cheap ones. You could even go Sports Direct and just get a pair of, waterproof over trousers that you give for hiking or golf or whatever.
Screwfix,
Screwfix, exactly.
Ones that the workers use, they're oversized already. They're expected to go over their normal work trousers, and again, they're much cheaper than motorcycle branded gear.
What's Screwfix, a squid, Mozart?
If you want to support the podcast, Screwfix, then we'll keep sending people your way.
You spend a lot of money at Screwfix, eh?
Yeah,
I do too. Too much. What's a squid?
Squid.
Because this is something we all hear. You go on Reddit or whatever, and people will be fucking going on about.
I'm pretty sure it's more of an American term, and I'm sure there's loads of backronyms about what it stands for. None of which I can think of off the top of my head. Basically, I think it probably breaks down is a squid's a bit of an idiotic fucking arsehole.
Now, the reason I think they're called a squid, sorry, let me just back up, is because a squid is an invertebrate. Is that right? Where they don't have bones, spineless, and they don't have bones. So if you crash a motorbike, you're likely to break all your bones. So you will be like a squid, like an octopus, and you'll just be this like ball of flesh that actually has no mass or a bone structure inside of it. So that's why they're a squid.
I've not heard that before. I bet if you put on, again, Google, what does squid mean in relation to motorcycling, there'll be loads of SQUIDs.
Probably, yeah.
But essentially, it's someone who rides like an arsehole, doesn't wear any gear, going to cause problems and accidents. Sort of people who lane split way too fast in a pair of sandals. They're an accident waiting to happen.
It's a cliche,
statistics and our insurance,
and it does affect everybody. And it's become a bit of a meme and a name that veteran bike riders will throw around at the new riders because they don't think they needed gear. But it's being said for a reason. There's so many bikers who've known other bikers who have come off their bike wearing just shorts and t-shirt and have just got terrible road rash or brain damage or whatever because they weren't wearing a helmet. So you will hear these things being thrown around, especially if you look on Reddit or Facebook or Instagram, whatever. But the other ones you'll see is what AT@GAT, which is all the gear all the time, which is you know, even I'll go to the shop just wearing jeans every now and then, but yeah, really all the gear all the time. Dress for the slide, not for the ride. I don't often hear that one, but I saw you write that one down.
Again, it's just, these are just motorcycling cliches. So yeah, all the gear all the time. That's almost the opposite of a squid. That's the old guy in his, he's got the high vis that says polite but looks like police.
Oh God, I hate those. If you wear one of
Yeah,
those, sorry,
yeah.
you're a
So
wanker. You're a wanker.
yeah, you are. And don't worry, squids are fucking dicks, and I hope they'll die. But
But yeah,
the polite police notice. I mean, I don't want you to die.
I'm embarrassed
But
for them. I'm
you
embarrassed.
should probably stop riding. But yeah, all the gear all the time. They're right? It's right. And for me, all the gear all the time means a helmet, appropriate footwear, gloves, jacket, and some trousers. That's what's realistically, and even with going down the shops, well, most accidents happen within a couple of minutes of the house, don't they? Then you're still going to lose a lot of skin, and that's what dress for the slide, not for the ride. That you're only riding to the shop, but dress as if you're going to Le Mans for 24 hours. Because it's not necessarily what you do; it's that other fucking dickhead who takes you out and rides you along under their bumper for 30 meters. Which leads you on to meat crayon, because you keep saying road rash, right? And I don't think road rash covers what this does to you. Road rash makes it sound much, much nicer than it is, right? Meat crayon
paints a picture, doesn't it?
Yeah, right? It really does. That's what happens when you come off a bike, right? What was the movie that did it? Oh, they had a great. Oh, it's horrific. I can't remember. I'll think about it, see if I can remember before the end of the night. Go and watch that movie. But honestly, if you imagine what it's like, from, like I said earlier, 30 miles an hour on bare skin down to zero, right? You've got all your meat and your flesh is going to disappear, and it's going to be in a long watermark all the way down the road, and you're going to be grinding bones. If bones sparked, you'd be sparking. All right. So meat crayon, not road rash. Meat crayon.
Okay, I want to make a point. We're at 53 minutes. Now I don't want us to be ranting on for the next 20 minutes. So we can save some of these subjects for another time. But we briefly just go on used market. There's always the used market. Don't buy helmets on the used market. You don't know how they've been treated or what's happened to them. But yeah, buy a jacket, buy boots, buy trousers. Buy those things. If they're in good condition visibly, then that's what matters with those kind of items. So you can save a lot of money like that. I haven't bought any, but I've sold a lot of jackets and motorcycle parts and clothing used, and I don't see any problem with that. Textiles versus leathers.
Just on the helmets, I just want to reiterate: never buy a used helmet, because you really don't know. Like, anyone could have dropped it. It could have been brought yesterday, dropped this morning, sold to you this afternoon. Do not buy a used helmet. But the rest of it, it's obvious. You can see if it's been scuffed or broken or slid in. So it's fine buying the other stuff. Textiles versus leathers. This is quite interesting because leathers are for slides. All right, so a leather will slide. A textile doesn't slide as well. The textile is more likely to bite and roll. But a textile is much better for weather. So leather, you're always going to be cold and you're always going to be wet. But textiles, you can be warm and dry, but you're less likely to. Honestly, these days, most of them slide very well, just not as good as leather, which is why you always see track days and races are always 100% leather race suits. Whereas, the adventure crowd, you can afford, when you're out and doing other things, you can afford to be in a textile jacket.
Yeah. And then the other thing we had written down was airbag jackets. When you're new to riding, inevitably people are going to tell you how dangerous it is. And one of the things that someone might bring up, or you might find yourself, is the fact that you can get airbag jackets and trousers these days, I think. And it is worth considering if you have the budget. It might put you at ease. It might put your family members at ease. And from what I understand, they are pretty good. They do come from the racing area. The technology is derived from racing, and they'll blow up around your neck and around your back and around your rib cage and around your hips if required on trousers, and they can be effective, but they are expensive. But if you have the budget for it, why not? Just don't
I'm with
get
you.
the high vis one that says polite, because you will look like a dick.
Yeah,
I think
well,
only horse
yeah,
riders can wear those polite jackets. I don't mind a horse rider wearing it.
no. Oh, I suppose horse riders are dickheads already. So yeah, fair game.
I'll tell Terry, my wife, that. All right. So Mozart says hi, you wanker. Yeah, I mean, we can talk about some of these another day. But yeah, I mean, we're getting on.
That is most of the gear stuff. That especially, I mean, that's more than enough to be getting on with as a beginner. Again, if you've got any questions, queries, you can contact us. One thing I did want to ask, Colin. So we were talking about used bikes last episode, and there's still budget bikes out there available for £1,000, and I said even £2,000 I think was troublesome this time. I just wanted to know, how have you got anything you could tell us? Have you revised your opinions on that in any way, shape, or form in recent weeks?
Yes and no. I definitely revised my my idea on low budget bikes, but it won't stop me buying shit bikes again, even though I do need help. But yeah, so the DRZ 400 that I bought was £2,000, and it probably was the cheapest one in the country at the time, which is never really a good idea and a good reason to buy a bike just because it's the cheapest one you can find. It's caused no end of problems. Currently, I'm awaiting some clutch plates because I rebuilt the carb the other day. The carb was fine, but then the engine kept on cutting out on me. It wouldn't change gear, even though I had the right oil in it. Pulled apart the clutch, and yeah, some of the clutch plates are warped, so I'm waiting some clutch plates. But this bike that cost £2,000 is basically just being stripped and rebuilt, like step by step. I nearly gave up on it. So you can spend little amounts of money, but you are going to have to be putting some time and effort into it, because yeah, spending £2,000 on a bike, you're not going to get much.
Time, money, effort, and more money. Yeah, so you've got to add to your budget. Because you're
I
spending more money,
Yeah,
and you're not getting to ride that bike to begin with. So
I've probably
multiple ways
spent
of
another £300-400
yeah.
on top of this so
So there you
far.
go.
Really, if I'd spent £3,000, I could have got a much better bike, because I see them all the
So
time for DLZs. Anywhere from 3 to 4,000 is where you're looking.
yeah.
Two
And the thing is,
thousand. I
it's
mean,
not a problem.
it's not a problem if
If
you
you go
can
into it
have the time.
eyes wide open. Yeah, if you know
Yeah,
that you're going to spend more money and that you've got the time and the skills to rent shit, and you don't even need the skills, you just need to be able to get to YouTube. But if you've got the time and the tools and the money, then yeah, fair game. But most of us, it's honestly, it's false economy. Spend another £1,000 and you can ride it this weekend.
but will it stop me buying another shit bike?
Hell no.
No.
We all laugh at you.
Yeah, because the next time I want to buy a bike, you know what I'll do? I'll find the cheapest one I can find, and then I'll buy it, and I'll get angry at it. I'll be really annoyed at myself, but then eventually I'll fix it and I'll get to ride it. So,
Actually, we've only talked about the DRZ. Maybe next time we'll talk about the bike you bought the last time you bought a bike and how that went
the
for you.
versus. Yeah. You seem to spend a bit
Anyway.
more money on your bikes, and they don't have the same problems, do they?
Yeah. Anyway, this is a beginner's guide to motorcycle gear. Thank you for listening today. I've been Simon.
I've been Colin. You can email us at hello@kmpod.com. Co, sorry. If you do want to get in touch, we'd love to hear from anybody who's listening. So if you are a listener and you've got to this point, please email us. In fact, we're going to put this email at the beginning and our intro, because who the fuck's going to get to 59 minutes and then hear the email address?
I tell you what, you can even email us and tell us to stop doing this if you think it's shit.
Yeah. We'll carry on though. We'll ignore them.
Yeah, it won't stop us, but it's just nice to know, you're throwing your voice out there into the void.
All right. Well, we'll be back in 2 weeks. I don't know what we're talking about, but something still to do with the beginner series. Do you remember what we're talking about? We've done gear. We've done bikes.
Not got a clue.
No.
Can I bring it up in front of me very quickly? No, I can't.
All right. Well, we'll be back in 2 weeks with another podcast about motorcycles, and then we'll talk drivel for an hour. All right. Yeah, I've been Colin.
I'm Simon. Be safe.
And we'll see you soon. Ta-ra.